fighters who don't want to meet defeat.
Thank you for coming by, Tori Magoo 44.
Listen, all you prize fighters
Love this
who
music.
don't want to meet defeat. Take a tip from me. Be off Joe Lewis's beat.
All right. You know me. I could listen to that forever. I love all kinds of different music. And if you have any good free, music that I can use on my YouTube, please send it to me because I definitely love good music. Anyway, that was sort of appropriate in that it's blues, and this is kind of a serious subject, a very serious subject about Scientology, deaths, and suicide then and now. Scientology, for quite a long time, I mean, starting for me, remember I got in '69, so this is all based on my experiences. You can always check around the internet for more information, Googling now, thanks to Google. You can read books from, one of the best ones is Russell Miller's book on Barefaced Messiah. I always forget the name of it, but it's a really good book. And he was never in, so he's just literally looking into his life, kind of walking you through, what happened to this guy and where he came from, what happened, etc. Also, Messiah or Madman by Ben Corden is an excellent book, showing some of the things that you just don't know if you're in the Church of Scientology. I mean, it's amazing what you're told and then what actually happened and why. When I was in, I think the first death I knew about was Quentin Hubbard, who was L. Ron Hubbard's son, gay. There'd been rumors about him being gay, but of course Scientologists are very, back then especially in 69, 70, in the early 70s, very homophobic, very much against homosexuality and gays, even though in the original dictionary under sex, I think he had the definition of the second dynamic was love, sex, and the rearing of children back then. Now it's creativity, because of course the Sea Org can't have any children anymore. That doesn't mean the public can't, just to make that clear, but the Sea Org can't anymore. But back then they could, and but anyway, he also had something about bisexuality in part of that definition, which of course is now taken out. Whatever. I think around 76 was when Quentin took his life, and it was a very hush-hush, don't ask, don't tell. I heard Quentin is dead. I know he isn't. Yes, he is. He's out in the desert. What happened? Bop, bop, bop. He took his own life. No, somebody killed him. I don't know. Don't ask, don't tell. It's very weird, very strange. And you can Google it and read a lot more about what, basically he took his car out into the desert. They found him with gas, like a hose into his car. And then he was taken to a hospital because he wasn't totally dead. So there's a lot of conflicting information on it. But anyway, he's dead. And that was the earliest one I knew of. Now, there were some other deaths in between them, but you didn't know about those back when you were in the early days, unless you were on the ship. I think there was a lady who was shot, and they said it was suicide, but, it was 3 shots from the front, which seemed a little... But I didn't hear about that until after I left. So again, it's kind of like back then, everybody was more into the excitement, the hope. L. Ron Hubbard was doing his research. It seemed like people were thriving a lot. Back in the 60s, early 70s, people were doing well. Celebrity Center got created. They started bringing in some artists, musicians. We were having a good time. It was a very, very, I thought, happy time during that time. I got married then. I got pregnant. I had my son. It just, a lot of people I knew got pregnant that were public, who had children. Even the Sea Org had a ton of children back then. Okay, so now roll forward into the 80s. I told you that the children joined gangs here in Los Angeles. And from that, they came up with, they weren't allowed to have children in the Sea Org. That's how that was based on. And now they have enforced abortions in the Sea Org. This has to do with the Sea Organization, which are the guys that are committed to working with the Church of Scientology. Okay, so then the first child, I know, like I think now 7 young people who've taken their own lives, really tragically. The first one hung himself, and it was horrible, really horrible. You can Google Philip Gale. He was at MIT, brilliant kid, helped start Earthlink, and his mother was a spokesperson for Citizens Commission on Human Rights, which is totally against psychiatry, right? And his fellow students put up a website about Philip Gale because he literally wrote out Einstein's equation for relativity and jumped out the 15-story window of MIT on L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. So tell me that wasn't a little bit of a message to Scientology. That's the second of those 7 kids I know who killed themselves on L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. Anyway, any one of them is a total tragedy and painful and horrible, and people are still doing that. Rex Fowler on deaths was just committed last week. He shot his employee, and I knew Rex Fowler. You know what I mean? It's like these people that have committed these horrible things. Like I knew Reed Slatkin at Flag, who's in prison now. And of course, Scientology immediately kicked him out, and he's the horrible thing on the earth. But he was getting money for the Church of Scientology. People were saying, "Oh yeah, I got my bridge paid for. I'm with Reed. He's doing that." So when they're in good standing, they're great. Like I'm in What is Scientology? It's like, hey, Tori, she's really great, right? But now it's like, oh God, don't talk to her. She's just, horrible this and that, and she had an affair, and it's like, where's my affair? I'm still waiting to meet. Bring them on over, Yachty. Come on, I want to find out who's the person I had the affair with. That would really be a good thing for me to hear. Or you guys just come over and face some of the lies that you have posted up about me, and let's make a little video about it. You can say what you have to say. I can say what I have to say. That's what any good church would do. But you guys won't do that, will you? And a lot of people know that within the Church of Scientology. I mean, it's really, really hard to get out of that group without losing all your friends. They all look at you, oh, you're a degraded being, or whatever. You're suppressive, or, you're just these really, really bad labels. So it's very, very hard to get out. I mean, God knows what happened to Rex, but I do know that Hubbard was way against psychiatry for a long time. Now, I agree. I'm against young children being put on psychiatric medicine unless they really need it. Some kids really need it. But way too many kids, I took on a classroom where they were absolutely nuts, got them all off sugar, and they were just fine after that. So sometimes natural things can really help on that kind of thing. Sometimes people really do need psychiatric medicine. And so to be completely blanketly against it is ridiculous. And that's a good thing for everybody to know. And I just found this out recently, is that the psychiatric convention happening very, very soon is actually going to have a panel regarding the Church of Scientology attacking psychiatry. This is the first time that's ever happened, and it's coming up. I'll tell you more about it as it comes, but I just wanted to plant a little seed there that is coming up. And I'm sure, Scientology's furiously telling them, cancel that, don't do that. But you know what? Some people do need some kind of medication. They'd be alive today if they were on it. But Scientology's, they've got they're all bad, they're all evil. I went through CCHR, Citizens Commission on Human Rights. Nothing could be farther from the truth. I could make a building right next to that, taking the Church of Scientology's abuses, and do just what they did. They've taken the worst of the very worst, and they say that's what it all is. Well, I could take the worst of Scientology and do the same thing, and if anybody wants to get it started, I'd be happy to work on it. We need a little bit of funding, and I think we could get it going, and it would be fantastic, because people could go through, just like in the industry of death, they could go through Scientology's thing, and we could show how they manipulate people getting them in, manipulating them at the regs, manipulating them in the Sea Org, just on and on and on. Their SP declares, so nobody can ever talk to you. They got a lot of their abusive things, breaking up families. We could have mothers and fathers interviewed who can't talk to their children, who are still out there. These are all things that are really, really abusive, that the Church of Scientology still does to this day. So they have a lot of people also that die on their, mainly on their upper OT level. That was my observation. Once they got onto OT5, which deals with unconscious beings, right? Before that, they were just beings, and you had to kind of locate them and move them on. But on OT5, they're unconscious. And one of my friends who used to be a review auditor for these top levels and is out now, and I were talking about why do so many people die on these upper levels? Because, I mean, they really, really do. And we both agreed. I mean, she pointed out, and I was saying the same thing, medical science has proven what you envision your body, with your body, having to do with your body, can often affect it. And if you're envisioning being covered with dead beings for miles and miles and miles out, you know, it can be thousands of miles above you, right? 24 hours a day, year after year. I was on OT7 for 7 years with this. Now, did it affect me? No, because the day I got on it, I said, this is bullshit. Because I could see from what the people had told me it was, you know, just with their wins on how they would heal people. There was nothing in healing. I was like, where's the Barry Klein rundown? Barry Klein's an FSM. That means he's a public who helps get people onto their next level, and he gets a 10% commission. Hi, Barry. You're watching this. And he would always promote how he could heal people on OT7 because of OT7. So by the time I got onto it, I was like, great. I can finally heal people. This will be terrific. I know what it is. And I got on it, and it was just more of this OT3 BS stuff. And I was like, where's the Barry Klein rundown? Those were my words when I got on the third part of OT7, the top secret levels that you have to get invited into. And they sent me right to cramming. And they said, what are you talking about? And I explained what I just said, and they showed me the reference. They said, there's nothing about healing on OT7. It doesn't say anything about that. So it's like how someone interprets it is a different thing. But the actual technology of it, ain't there. And believe me, I went to cramming for 7 years on this. I kept trying on it. So people go, oh, she didn't really try. Right. I did try. And there's nothing of that on it. So, you know, people can go literally nuts on these levels. And I think that's what happened with Rex. He flipped out. He shot his employee. And then he tried to shoot himself, and it didn't work. And now he's in prison for the rest of his life without parole. And that was decided within 2 hours of the jury. So I always say to people, you know, my friends, my critic friends often wear these T-shirts, Scientology kills. And at first when I got out, I was like, oh, come on, you know, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. But you know what? It really isn't. You know, especially in the Church of Scientology, way, way, way too many people died. Way too many. And you people that are in, you know it's true. You know it. You can try to sweep it under the rug, pretend like it didn't happen. It isn't just a few people. It's way, way, way too many people. And their thing is like, oh, well, a lot of people die. A lot of people commit suicide. Not at the rate that you do. My brother, I told you, called me years ago when I was in and said, Tori, you know, we're less than a year apart. I know one person who's dead. You know, a cast of thousands. Every time I talk to you, another one of your very dear friends is dead. You know, he was trying to get me to, like, think about this. And you know what? It did help. It was sort of like, it juggles things. So always remember, you can put things into people's heads and juggle it around. Ask them a question. What about this? What about that? You know, why are... Well, anyway, that's a whole nother issue. But, you know, that's a way to help. So there you go on that. It's a pretty heavy issue, but it's an important issue. And it's an important issue for people to look at. If you're in... I say it all the time, bail while you still can. You're alive. Get out of there. Come on out. We're all having a great time out here. It's way better than in the Church of Scientology. Way. Okay? And if you have any questions, give me a call. I talk to people a lot of times. I won't tell the soul. And I'm good at that too. I have more secrets. And also you can remember this. I probably won't remember it anyway. So don't worry about it. I mean, not that I won't remember it, but you know what I mean? I just have a whole, this is never to be mentioned again, and I don't. You know, it's up to you. So there you go. Thank you to everyone, to the ex-Scientologists, to the Scientologists, to the critics, to the anonymous, to all of you, everybody who's helping expose the abuses of the Church of Scientology. I thank you very much. because you are having a great impact, way more than you think. So never forget that. It just takes a person, right, to help. It's the power of one. It's huge. Okay, so use it. Peace. Have an excellent rest of the week. Bye-bye.